you need to have a certain amount of intestinal fortitude as an investor. And when I speak to many of you, our shareholders, you have that in spades. So thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Hey, thanks for coming. Hell of a year, but a lot of good things are happening, and I think it's worth going over those things. Model 3, last 4 quarters, is actually outselling all competitors combined in the US. So all of them. It's the highest revenue car in the US and best-in-class performance. And it's actually the best-selling car by revenue, including high-volume cars like the Toyota Camry and Honda Accord. Yeah, I think most people aren't aware of this, but we're about the 4th best-selling by numbers, but the highest selling by revenue over the past year of any car in the US. So that's remarkable that an electric vehicle is the best-selling, highest revenue car in the country. I think 10 years ago, nobody would have believed it. And thanks to the hard work of the Tesla team, this is the result. It's great. It's worth noting that no electric car has exceeded the range of the first Model S that we came out with in 2012. Resisting the temptation to pick on competitors, I will not do that. Putting gems on it like the Fart app, of course, that's one of my favorites. It's like perhaps my finest work, and we expect to be feature complete with autonomy by the end of this year. So, you'll still need to supervise the autonomy, but it should be able to go from your garage to your parking space at work without intervention. So then we'll obviously put on billions of miles of testing, and then I think probably sometime next year you'll be able to have the car be autonomous without supervision, and then sometime thereafter we'll be able to convince regulators that the autonomy is safe enough that the car could actually go around with no one in it. So, and it's really the critical elements for that are having billions of miles of testing, ultimately tens of billions of miles. A lot of people were puzzled as to how could I say that we would have like, 1 million robo-taxis by the end of next year. And it's if you sum up the vehicles made since October 16 and essentially switch out the computers for the ones that were made after the full self-driving computer a few months ago, we will have 1 million cars that are capable of self-driving. In fact, I think it's basically financially insane to buy anything except an electric car that is upgradable to autonomy. It's just nuts. You can see one country after another is putting dates on banning gasoline and diesel cars, and the environmental pressure to move away from fossil fuels is getting stronger and stronger. So it's just basically mad to buy a fossil fuel powered car at this point, because its long-term resale value will be less and less. And then it's also important to buy a car that is upgradable at least to full self-driving, because a car that cannot do self-driving will also be worth not very much. So if you add up all the EVs, all electric vehicles in the world, all the batteries that they use, that's approximately equal to what we make at the Gigafactory. Wow. Yeah.
And maybe just a quick shout out to the whole team out there and the team that's made that happen. I mean, it's been such an epic project. I mean, as you said, starting with dirt, literally dirt in the desert, to now the biggest battery factory in the world, and it took thousands and thousands of people to do it.
So, and then we're making good progress on the Gigafactory in Shanghai. If you've watched the progress online, it gets followed with in excruciating detail. I think the number of drones flying over the factory is pretty nutty. We need air traffic control. I mean, I think if I were an outside investor, I would really focus on two things. What is the timeline to full self-driving, and what is your plan to scale and battery production and get the cost per kilowatt hour lower? Then what status of Tesla insurance? We're pretty close to being able to release that. We have a small acquisition that we need to complete, and a bit of software to write, but it won't be long before we release that. Profitability is always challenging if you're a fast-growing company, and I think that the scale at which Tesla is growing is hard to appreciate. But I mean, last year we doubled our fleet. So we made as many cars last year as we had in our entire history. And this year, it's going to be pretty similar, at least sort of 60 to 80% growth of the total vehicle fleet, maybe more than that. So, so it's hard to be profitable with that level of growth. We could slow down, but then that would not be good for sustainability and the cause of electric vehicles and solar and storage and all that. So, but I think we can be cash flow positive despite having a very high growth rate.
I've been a happy Model 3 and Model S owner since 2012. I believe I'm representative of the vast majority of Tesla owners who are super happy with the company and the product, and we think that the next car we're going to get is going to be another Tesla. But that's not what we read in the mainstream media.
Yeah.
If that was your only source of information on Tesla, you'd think it was shoddy quality, cars that spontaneously combust, and that
it is nutty.
And that the company is on the verge of bankruptcy.
Right.
And we know that's not true, but
this is not true.
This issue head on so that the true great American success story gets told.
Yeah. No, it's true what you say. It's very distressing. It makes me sad. It's extremely rare for a Tesla car to catch fire, and if it does, it's just incredibly rare, and it's usually some extenuating circumstances. It's very slow, and it's almost never harmful. I mean, would you rather have a gasoline-powered cell phone or a battery-powered cell phone? I mean, it's a no-brainer,
You could change the narrative.
Well, we're really trying our best. But I'm at somewhat of a loss to it's not like we don't respond or anything. Make a documentary. Yeah, it's the most crazy disinformation campaign I've ever seen.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
I'll just say I appreciate your optimism and your passion for the company, and I think that is probably the best asset that all of you bring to the table. And if you can share that with everybody you know and give them the personal experience that you've had in whatever way that you can, that's really our best defense. So please continue to do so, as it seems like you are.